to talk to you about what happens when you're in prison for a while is your world shrinks and freedom becomes a distant abstraction. Freedom stops being the most pressing issue, after you've been in for a while. What matters most is the day-to-day. Exercise, reading, connection with the outside, connection with other prisoners on the inside, and the knowledge that we aren't forgotten, that people are fighting for us out here. And I learned very quickly in prison that we would receive almost no improvements in our conditions unless we fought for them. And then I learned that my ability to stay sane didn't only depend on my humane conditions. What was making me survive was the fight itself to get those conditions. And I remember one of the times that I felt most alive in my 26 months in Iranian prison. Sarah had been released months before, and Josh and I were receiving almost no letters. And you have to understand that this isn't a small issue. A prisoner's greatest fear is being forgotten. Letters are a prisoner's connection to a bigger world, a world in which people actually care about them. And Josh and I went on hunger strike. It was the only weapon we had, and it was one that felt like a gamble. We wondered if they would separate us, put us back in solitary confinement like they had threatened to. We wondered if they would take our books away. Days into the hunger strike, our interrogator came. He played the usual game, separating Josh and I, and speaking to us separately as if we were being interrogated. We were blindfolded. He told me my hunger strike was useless, that it wouldn't go anywhere, but I didn't give in. Then in the end, he told me that if I ate right at that moment, and believe me, I wanted to eat at that moment more than I wanted to read a letter. If I would eat at that moment, then he would give me letters from my mom and dad. He held the letters out in front of me. My heart leapt and I paused. Then I said no. I told him I needed letters from my parents, my sisters, and from Sarah. That was our demand and I was sticking to it. I got up and walked blindfolded back to my cell. 10 minutes later, he came to our cell door. He told us that they would give us all the letters we demanded. And after he closed the door and walked away, Josh and I were punching the air in excitement, and we were dancing. It felt like we had slain Goliath. Against all odds, we won something. At that moment, we weren't only bodies in a cage, we were human. But the biggest victories came when there was pressure from the outside. Prisons function on the ability to completely control a small, self-contained world. But when that world stops being self-contained, when people inside are coordinated with people outside, that system of control falls apart. When our families and Sarah publicly hunger-struck on the outside in solidarity with us on the inside, we start receiving all of our letters. We got a phone call and books from our families came without delay, and then we got free. This movement, this Occupy movement, needs to permeate the prisons. God forbid one day some of the people here will be on the other side of this fence. But when movements get strong, people start getting locked up. We should know this. This happens in every country. Prisons are the places where movements are killed. But at the same time, when a movement truly permeates prisons, a space built to break people down, the movement is at its strongest. This is true all over the world. And the Occupy movement will only begin to gain strength in prisons when people on the outside are helping to bring about changes on the inside. When prisoners start getting exercise equipment, when they have access to all the reading material they need, when they get classes, when they get more visits with friends and family, when their demands are met, and when people start getting out of the shoe. In prison, conditions are everything. As my conditions improved, as I was able to sleep in a bed, drink a cup of coffee, have showers daily, I stood taller. I became bolder. Many people here today helped me do that when I was locked up halfway around the world. I know that we can do that for the people locked up right here. Thanks.